long term, and we know it causes leukemia, among other things. There's no human carcinogen, and there actually aren't that many chemicals out there where the overwhelming evidence of human cancer is so powerful that they are designated human carcinogens. So, benzene is one of those chemicals where we look, where it's a very low dose, long term concern. Hydrogen sulfide is a short term, high dose concern. So it's very, very difficult to sort of characterize the cumulative effects of being exposed to both of those. What we try to do is keep each one below a level that we believe is protective of the public health and has an adequate margin of safety built into it to protect against really uncertainty and the unknown effect. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but that's about the best I can give right now.
And I appreciate.
Very active research.
I'm sorry. I appreciate your forthcomingness that you stated that you really don't know at this time. However, hello?
Yes, go ahead. We're listening.
Okay, but see, you said semantics, and the thing about it is that I can only put it in illustration. If you're testing, and one of the questions was about the mice test for the 5.5 years. If you're testing one mice, and you give them cyanide, and you give all of them cyanide at a certain level. If all of them die, then you seem to deem that that's not the appropriate level. Now, if of the 5, 3 live and 2 die, then is that the way you determine? Oh well, this is at a level because 3 people lived, and 3 mice lived and 2 died.
Actually, not. In fact, I'd like to think I'm actually quite proud that, first of all, I'm relieved that I live in a nation that, and the VI gets extended those same benefits, that we have such stringent environmental controls. And then I'm proud of the fact that we have state of the science in developing them, and we are literally world leaders. So many other nations look to the United States and specifically the Environmental Protection Agency to help guide them set their own environmental regulations. And right now we are having a dispute with our own Department of Education in New York City because we have found PCBs in some of the schools, and they have said, well, they're at very low levels. And we said, yes, they are at very low levels, but our risk assessment process is such that we are setting our exposure guidelines 300 times lower than the lowest observed effect, and that's not the effect that kills 3 or 5. It's what is the lowest observed adverse effect. It's not death by any means. It's any change in a physiological function. So, and that is typical, and that is maybe Rick could elaborate on it, but that's how we set those ambient air quality standards for sulfur oxides and nitrogen oxides. They're intended to be protective of the public health, which includes the old, the young, the infirm, the people with underlying, respiratory problems. So it's not perfect, and there could always be outliers like hypersensitive individuals. And in the case where you raise here, I'm being exposed almost to the limit of this one and that one and the other one, and what is the impact of having all these simultaneous exposures? I agree that it's a very good cause for concern, but right now the science doesn't allow us to really develop standards for mixtures outside of some very, very specific situations where the state of California has developed a standard for diesel emissions just because it always looks the same. So they have created, a standard for something that is not a single contaminant. And maybe, I don't know, years from now we'll have, standards that encompass more than one chemical, but we don't have those now, and what we're obligated to meet are the standards that are in fact, the law of the land. And again, I would just say they're developed with a great deal of safety built into them. So while less than ideal, they're I think I breathe the air pretty with some level of freedom and and comfort, if you will.
Okay, thank you. I understand. Okay,
Can I make a brief statement to what was being? And yes, I'm not pointing fingers, and I honestly hope that this panel that I'm speaking to could help the people of the Virgin Islands, because it's easy for you to say, I live here, and maybe if you wouldn't check the air and you would check the rate at which the people are dying now compared to 10, 20, 30 years ago, you would see that there is a definite reason to be concerned. If you were to pay attention as to how many people die on this island from cancer, you, the EPA, will consider the Virgin Islands epidemic and create a state of emergency. And I'm not joking, that is the rate in which people are dying from cancer. It's tiny, tiny thing. And for you to live here, and you keep hearing some child with leukemia. When I was a child, there was no such thing as leukemia here in the Virgin Islands. Today it has become a household name. And again, I'm not pointing fingers. Something is wrong in the Virgin Islands and we need to fix it. The Virgin Islands has become a concentration camp. People are just dying. And it needs to be fixed. There is no doubt about it in my mind that the EPA has been negligent over the years. The EPA have taken too long to deal with this Horventa issue. And again, I'm not pointing fingers. People are dying. This is my family. This is my friend. It's a small island. Everybody knows everybody. And I hope that this body would listen. The Virgin Islands government is corrupt. They know if ands about it. When you have a corrupt government, the responsibility falls on the federal government, the EPA, to see to it that the government, the policies are enforced. And EPA does not do that. And any business, any big business could come to the government and buy a public official. That's no secret. And I'm saying this because whether we live or die, it depends on the stand that the EPA takes. That you guys are our only hope right now. And that's what I want to get across to you. The rate in which we're dying, it's an epidemic state, and people need to pay attention to it. You're looking for the answers in the quality of the air. Look at the rate in which we're dying, and you will find the answers. Thank you very much.
okay, let me move on to TRI. Now, one of the things that I was taken back by this after learning how to maneuver through it, I just want to give you some constructive criticism. That is not a user-friendly website. Not at all. Not for the lame people that you're saying. Because the reason why I'm saying this is because one of the things I said is, when was the first time EPA has visited the Horventa site? And you sent me to a place where you could see where it was monitored, the monitoring for the different agencies and DPNR and everybody else. But it's not friendly for people that doesn't have a chemical background. Then the TRI is as though you need to know certain information before you can proceed on to somewhere else. And if you don't know what you're really looking for, then it's very hard for the person. And we're talking about low income individuals, because I'm well aware of what is called the environmental racism, where industries seem to always find themselves in the area where low income minorities are. So if you're going to send them to a site like that, you got to forget it. They're not going to understand anything. So one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is, can you explain to me why, and I know we're pressed for time because it's now at 2:43, but can you explain to me why there isn't a breakdown of the startups, the shutdown, the upsets, and the issues that really have the highest emissions? that site there, unless I'm not looking for it and I'm looking for it in the wrong places, but why is it just a lump sum where when anyone that wants to challenge the industry, they would need this type of information? Hello?
We heard you. I think we're digesting a little bit.
In the New York office, there isn't someone that's expert at the TRI index, so it's difficult to address that with an expert present. If you want, we could try to arrange for someone who's more expert at TRI to discuss this with you at a later date.
Well, Jeff, if you can you just go ahead and the individual, shoot my question, or I can send a question and you can do what we've been doing for the last month or so, and then they can just answer me, because the biggest thing...
Sure, no problem.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to move on. One of the things that I need to also talk about is citizen evidence. Is there anybody in the room that can talk to me about citizen evidence?
Could you
Elaborate? Sure, no
what you
problem.
mean by that?
Okay, no problem. One of the questions I asked the EPA is if our community, can we take samples and then forward it on to the EPA so that they can consider the information that we received or we produced through an independent lab separate from everybody else. And we apologize in advance because we're so much into corruption here that we don't take it lightly, to really take the word of an agency. So we like to just do our own to then see if we could come up with the same exact thing that the government states that is. So my question was, can we do that? Well, the answer to my question was, well, not really, because we want to make sure that there's no legal debate. So I was told by Mr. Carmen that there is something that's called the citizen evidence, and I would like to know your definition of that and if you can elaborate on that.
Hi, this is Rick Ruvo from Air Programs. There is a growing idea behind what we're calling citizen science and the efforts on the part of citizens to do their own sampling. And in general, we've been promoting those types of activities, but the connection between making that information a legal basis to pursue other, regulatory actions, that connection has not been made. We do have existing monitoring networks that the territory and the states operate, and they're based on long-standing equipment that goes through audits and quality assurance plans, and so we base all of our regulatory programs on that data. Now, that's not to say, a citizen can't go out and do their own sampling, but if any regulatory agency, whether it be the Virgin Islands or EPA, were asked to look at that data, we would have to compare it to the standards and practices that we have with our existing regulatory programs.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Blair Mills. It's not that we're not encouraging the use of sampling by citizens. It's just that you have to be cautioned that there are a lot of quality assurance, quality control procedures that our monitors and our sampling engage in that are difficult even for people who have years and years of expertise. I find as an attorney that these people have to constantly be kept on their toes as to properly administering the quality action and quality control